Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Heavenly Parent Holy Community Oceania Morning Hundoke. Today we have Reverend Greg Stone sharing with us on this Saturday, the 18th of April 2026, or the 2nd of March in the 14th year of Chongalguk. So thank you all for coming, and let's begin with a bow to our true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Chanji Champumnimge Kambai. Paro. And let's recite our family pledge, both in Korean and English.
가존맨세 8. 천일국 주인, 우리 가족은 참 사랑을 중심하고 천일국 시대를 맞이하여 절대 신앙, 절대 사랑, 절대 복종으로 신내 일제 이상유리로 지산천국과 천산천국의 해방권과 속방권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 8. Our family, the owner of Chongalguk, pledges having entered the era of Chongalguk to achieve the ideal of God and human beings united in love through absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience, and to perfect the realm of liberation and complete freedom in the kingdom of God on earth and in heaven by centering on true love. Thank you, and I'd like to share again True Mother's prayer that she gave at the 2024 HJ Cosmic Blessing. Most precious Heavenly Parent, here at the World Centre, the 2,100 couples who have come into your embrace, the blessed couples, good men and women who have received the blessing through true parents, are pure waters, expressing what was originally your ideal of creation. May their path as blessed pure waters of true love expand endlessly throughout the world, transcending nations, sweeping across the 5 oceans and 6 continents in praise of you, Heavenly Parent. May all the blessed couples who have received the blessing today and are now able to live in heaven on earth with you, Heavenly Parent, thanks to true parents' earthly victory, give birth to many pure waters who realize your dream on earth and convey this news to the 8 billion people of the world. By participating in this blessing, they will do their best to return the earth to its original state at the time of creation, so that all the terrible things that are happening around the world today, climate change, disease, and natural disasters that are causing this earth to suffer due to humanity's ignorance, will no longer threaten the lives of blessed families. The future of our blessed families is hopeful. Today, 2,100 blessed couples from around the world receive the marriage blessing. May they become blessed couples who fulfill their responsibilities, give joy and praise to our Heavenly Parent, experience Heavenly Parent's love on earth for all time, realize Heavenly Parent's dream here on earth and there in heaven, live for eternity together with you, Heavenly Parent and true parents. Therefore, please accept this day with joy. May you receive glory. May the blessed couples fulfill their responsibilities and missions wherever they may be. I pray that these couples who have received the blessing, particularly in this era, in an environment wherein they can directly attend and live with Heavenly Parent, will form blessed families of whom history will be eternally proud and who will inspire their descendants to be filial sons and daughters and loyal patriots. I pray and declare this in the name of the true parents, Arju. Thank you. And before we welcome Reverend Stone, I'd like to share a praise song. Please enjoy. What's that? Well,
자녀 경례 바로
thank you, and let's go welcome to Reverend Stone as he shares with us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Please let me just share my screen. Okay, so the talk that I'd like to do the Hundake about today is called The Ideal World for God and Humankind. This was one of the first speeches that Father gave in the 7-city speaking tour in America in February 1972, just after he moved to the United States. And he arrived in America December the 18th, 1971. God directed true parents to expand their ministry to the world level by going to the United States in 1971. America, which embraces all peoples, races, and religions, represents the world. What happens in America has global repercussions. So True Father expressed gratitude for America's role in liberating his homeland, but he also knew that God expected much more from this land that had been so richly blessed. It was clear to Reverend Moon that America had drifted from its original ideals. So his father and mother and Onpok Che as well, and a few others arriving in Washington, D.C., 18th of December. Father's nearly 52 years of age, so he's not young, and he has a huge mission in front of him to influence America. He can't speak English, and yeah, how's he going to do this, right? So when we look at the America that Father and True Parents came to at that time, 1972, we need to just have a little bit of a snapshot of that. First of all, the Cold War was still very, very strong. The Soviet Union and America particularly were standoff. There was huge nuclear weapon buildup on both sides. Richard Nixon was the president at the time of USA. Leonid Brezhnev was also the head of the Soviet Union. You can see the two of them there. And that was in May 1972. Same time, the Vietnam War was raging. So America had really committed, Australia as well, New Zealand as well. There's a lot of the allies to fighting this war, the insurgency of communism into Vietnam. So this was one of the B-52 bombers dropping bombs over Vietnam, December 1972, during the final period of US involvement in the Vietnam War. There was a lot of protests, you might remember, huge marches. I know in Melbourne, Australia, and when I was living there, and also I'm sure in New Zealand, all over the world, in America, of course. At the same time, there was this technological advancement going on. There's the Apollo 17 mission, the lunar module that just landed and put the American flag there on the moon. Of course, these days we've just heard also that there's been a mission to the moon again, to the dark side of the moon actually at this time. But in 1972, this was also going on when True Parents arrived in the United States. The Summer Olympics took place in Munich, Germany, and 1972. There was a Munich massacre. It was carried out by 8 members of the Palestinian militant Black September movement, and 11 Israeli Olympic team were killed at the time. On the cultural scene, there was a lot of changes that had been taking place with the sexual revolution in the 1960s and all kinds of changes, especially influencing young people at the time. This is a young man and woman smoking pot. The drugs had started taking hold as well. This is the Woodstock Music Festival. This is a lot of famous rock bands and people. And so just in New York State, they had this huge music festival, 1969. And this was really a symbol of a counterculture and the change and influences on young people at the time in in America and around the world, as his father said, affects the whole world. So this countercultural movement was the result of a generation that rejected social norms and traditional ways of the previous decades. The countercultural movement involved youth who rejected mainstream American culture and societal norms. Prior to the 1950s, the ideal woman was housewife, cared for the children, cooked, cleaned the home. Men were expected to find a steady job and be the provider for the family. The American dream was no longer a goal of this new generation. People were rejecting consumerism. Of course, they were against war. The Vietnam War was raging. A lot of people were conscripted to go and fight in that war. A lot of them didn't really know why they were there. There was a lot of drug taking even in the military at the time. So this was a kind of reaction to what was going on. But at the same time as they rejected war and consumerism, they also rejected traditional values, sexual morality and family values and so on. So true parents arrived in the United States at this time. December 18th, 1971, true parents with members of the Toronto airport about to depart for Washington, D.C. This was the day true parents moved to the US. On December the 18th, true parents arrived Washington, D.C. So at the same time, there was a lot of, it was not a simple matter for true parents to get there. They were stopped and true parents were accused of being involved in communism and they weren't allowed to enter. And in the end, they finally realized true father was actually anti-communist. But anyway, there was not a simple matter. And his father taking on America with true father, left to right, Young Wee Kim, Bong Chon or Sangik Che, Puppet Sonic Che, and Bohee Park. The latter two had already worked in the United States for a decade or so by the time true father had moved there. This was a photo taken, and then about 10 of the 50-odd states of America had been pioneered. There were pioneered church centers only in 10 of the 50 states when father arrived. So within a month and a half, true father was off. He was on his first 7-city tour. And so these were the 7 cities. You can see them there: New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Francisco, Berkeley, California. During the 1972 Day of Hope 7-city tour, Reverend Sun Myung Moon delivered the same series of 3 core speeches in each city over 3 consecutive nights. Titles of the 3 speeches were God's Hope for Man or Humankind. That's the one I'm going to start reading. And then, but also Father in this God's Hope for America and the New Future of Christianity. So Father is educated. Father is wondering, away, how can I reach this nation? How can I speak to the youth and to the people of this nation? He went there with the spirit of a firefighter or a doctor dealing with the circumstances. So these, look at the bottom part here. These 3 speeches, the key themes of the speeches. So God's Hope for Man, focus on the original purpose of creation, the fall of man, explaining that God's ultimate desire is to establish a world of peace through true families. Second speech on God's Hope for America emphasized America's historic role as a nation chosen by God to lead the worldwide moral and spiritual revolution. True father, he warned that if America failed to uphold the Christian values, it would face decline. In the third speech, this is a future of Christianity, or new future of Christianity, called for the unification church and all Christian denominations into a single family of faith to combat the spread of atheistic communism and moral decay. So every city, Father gave these 3 speeches on 3 consecutive nights. So this is this was Father's strategy to build up. This was one of the speeches, Christianity in Places, New Hope. The Day of Hope speaking tour began February the 3rd, 1972, in the Alice Tully Hall, the Lincoln Center in New York. They went on to 7 major US cities with the purpose of reviving traditional Judeo-Christian values. Unification Church had centers in 10 states, and in 1972, pioneer leaders were sent out to the 40 remaining states to found Unification Church centers. In the same year, evangelical teams traveled from state to state in a membership campaign, and thousands of young people accepted his message and dedicated themselves to the Unification Church. So this is the impact of True Father and True Parents being there in America. Within the same year, 1972, they spread they pioneered all 50 states. And at the same time, you remember, with just 3 years later, True Parents sent out missionaries to 120 nations. 1975 missionaries that went out to the world, and they were from America, Japan, and Germany. At the same time, you see through this period of the mid-70s, there's big sort of campaigns, Day of Hope campaigns going on in Japan, also in Korea, international campaigns for witnessing. True Parents bought the New Yorker Hotel in 1975. And so this kind of impact was growing, and Father was moving. Even he couldn't speak English, but he was moving the whole of America. And America paid attention. And along with that attention, there was also negativity. Christians started to become alarmed at the teachings being different from the mainstream. And then persecution began at this time. It was culminating in Danbury imprisonment in 1984, 85. This Father spoke at the Listener Auditorium in George Washington University, Washington, D.C., February the 19th, 20th, and 21st. This was the fourth city of the 7-city Day of Hope tour. Imagine speaking to this through a translator, and speaking to the people in this way. Now, this is the speech. So this is one of those 3 speeches Father was giving. So let's start. I'll go through as much as I can. I'm not sure I can finish it, but I'll stop at a certain point if time runs out. So this is found in the one of the books. What was it? Anyway, it's book speech number 1. It's the 4th of February 1972. Lincoln Center, New York, USA, 7 cities speaking to in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to express my gratitude for your attendance this evening. For a long time, I have yearned to meet with the people of America. I am truly delighted and thankful for having been given this opportunity. Topic one I would like to discuss with you today is God, the ideal world, or the united world for God and humankind. Where does the pursuit of ideal world begin? In the hearts, or in their hearts, all people long for an ideal world, a world of oneness. However, at this point, it seems like an impossible dream. This can only be a source of sadness for humanity. If there is a God, he too undoubtedly is longing for such an ideal world, the world of oneness. Without a doubt, both God and humankind yearn for this ideal world of oneness. If there is a God, he must bring about such a world without fail. And if you are a person who believes in God's ability, you will think that this task must be accomplished above all else. Although all human beings yearn for the united world, we must acknowledge that it is not not simple to bring this about. The democratic world and the communist world, from their own positions and their own ways, both are thinking about uniting the world. Then could the communist world submit to democratic world and become one with it? Or could the democratic world submit to the communist world and unite with it? This is an extremely difficult problem. Before we start out our search for a way to realize unity in an ideal world on the global level, we first need to ask if a nation, if there is a nation which is itself united. Only through such a nation can we bring about a united world. Before there can be a united world, there must be a united nation, And before there can be a united nation, there must be a united tribe. Before there can be a united tribe, we need a united family. And before united family, there must be a united individual. And this is where the problem lies. Human beings are the origin of good and evil. So where is unity first achieved? Since this world is a resultant world, we can conclude that unity must begin with the causal beings. And where are those individuals? It cannot be denied that we human beings were torn between two purposes that lead in contrary directions. Our minds desire to go towards goodness, whereas our bodies lead us the opposite way. Two are fighting with each other. There are two different individuals, a man and a woman, who come together in union to form a family. Because they each possess an internal self and an external self, when the two meet as a couple, they are in fact come together as four beings, each acting in different ways. In the same way, whether it's a clan, a tribe, a people, a nation, or the world, everything is divided. Nevertheless, we can be grateful that they are not divided into hundreds or thousands of directions. They're divided in two ways. This is what is fascinating. If there is a God, he surely would not allow people to continue this like this. He would have no choice but to work in the background of history, even without their knowing it. And if there is a Satan who had driven human beings to evil, that Satan would keep trying to pull them in the direction opposite to that of God. Nonetheless, even if Satan opposes the absolute God, he does not have the right to rise up and oppose the principles that God set up with absolute authority. God governs what is good, and Satan governs what is evil. The resulting fight between God and Satan starts within us as individuals. We need to understand that this is the reason that human beings can be of the origin of evil and the origin of goodness. In short, a person can be the starting point of goodness, same time the starting point of evil. Ladies and gentlemen, going up symbolizes something good. Going down symbolizes something bad. When you are complimented for some reason, you wish to boast loudly of it. In contrast, when you are criticized for doing wrong, you shrink into yourself. When you do something good, you advertise it and call for others to follow your example. When you do something bad, you hide it for fear of being unknown, of it being known. No one goes about loudly advertising having done something bad, like stealing. Rather, such a person goes his or her way in secret. You need to understand that people have two parts, one desiring to go up and the other desiring to go down. The part that desires to go up is the conscience. There is no person, even one of great power or fame, who does not suffer pangs of conscience when doing something evil. We need to understand clearly that the human conscience is the guardian of God, whereas the body is the guardian of Satan. And that the conscience is the origin of heaven, whereas the body the origin of hell. This leads us to realize the fundamental difference between the essence of good and the essence of evil. Goodness seeks the benefit of the whole, whereas evil seeks only its own benefit. Good people live more for the sake of their family than for themselves, more for the sake of the village than the family, more for the sake of their nation than their village, more for the sake of the world than the nation. Till now, history has unfolded as a struggle between the perspectives of living for one's own sake and the perspective of living for the sake of others. God's absolute demand is that we completely uproot and destroy the basis of evil in our bodies. In contrast, Satan's evil demands is that we mercilessly destroy the conscience and anything associated with it. History continues to unfold through this conflict. God's side is centered on the conscience, while the side of evil is centered on the body and on material things. They oppose each other. We can conclude that this is why humanity is divided between the realm of materialism and the realm of spirituality. If there were no God, we would not have such a resultant world. Evil manifests as jealousy, disunity, and conflict that lead to self-destruction. From this viewpoint, where can unity and the ideal be realized? In the end, they start from the most fundamental level, from me, the individual. Thus, God needs to teach us about the united world, the ideal world for which he yearns. Teachings of religion. Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to know how this is done? It is done in a way that you desire. It is not done in a way that you desire. In fact, no one desires this way. First of all, you need to chastise whoever or whatever opposes the commandments. God cannot do this. Human beings are stuck in a midway position, with God and Satan both struggling to claim them. And if God were to strike them, so would Satan. So God's teaching centers on the conscience and tells you, strike, strike, strike your body. We need to carry out this campaign worldwide. You have to do what your body hates. It is religion that teaches this. And what are the teachings of religion? All religions teach strike your body, strike the body. Don't eat what you desire to eat. Don't do what your body desires to do. All major religions teach this. Buddhism places great importance on asceticism. Also, self-sacrifice is the important principle in Christianity. However, because it's extremely difficult for people to practice this, God has had no choice except to find a way to work with us just as we are. Since our mind and bodies have a similar degree of power over us, we tend to alternate between going this way and that, back and forth. Religion teaches us to deny what the body wants while offering devotions that give us strength from God. This has been the role of religion until now. God started out working with one individual and advanced through the family, tribe, and people in his desire to gain one nation. In this way, the nation and people of Israel emerged. In short, they were the chosen people. The existence of the term chosen people and chosen nation testify to the existence of God. In accordance with his plan, God promised to send his representative who, as an individual, could completely unite his body and mind, then unite his family, tribe, and nation, and completely unite the world. This was the messianic vision of Israel. Following this pattern, God anticipated that the people would unite with this individual family, tribe, and become the nation, save the world, creating one world and bringing it to God's side. Of course, God's purpose was in part to have the people of Israel receive the Messiah and live happily. However, his providence is not merely to save one people, it is to save the world. He was, in fact, trying to save the world. And for that, he established the people of Israel as the foundation upon which he could send the Messiah. Yet at that time, though the desire of the Israelites and the direction of God's providence ought to have been the same, they were in different ways. Jesus came as an individual with the ideal of a united world. Based on that ideal, it was to form a perfected family, then go on to establish an ideal tribe, people, nation, and world. Instead, he was crucified before he could accomplish this. The nation of Israel was like a field of wild olive trees with which the owner would do whatever he pleased. When Jesus came as a true olive tree to the field of wild olive trees, God's plan was to engraft all the wild olive trees, from individuals to families, to the entire nation, into his ideal. If this had come to pass, the people of Israel would have become true olive trees. If Israel, based on Judaism, had become one with Jesus and backed him with its sovereignty in carrying his mission to the world, 2,000-year history of Christianity would not have been necessary. God sent Jesus to a world filled with people whose minds and bodies were not united. to embody the ideal and unite all people. However, the people to whom he was sent nailed him to the cross and murdered him. Because Judaism and the nation of Israel went against God's will, the nation and the foundation established by God over the course of thousands of years were lost, forsaken aside. Israelites became a people without a nation, groaning under tyranny, overrun by other peoples for 2,000 years, having to fight for survival. Israel became an independent state in 1948. This indicates that we have entered a new global era in which the people of Israel can overcome their suffering and regain their good fortune. This means that the time of the Lord to come again is approaching. Do you think there was a foundation, an individual, family, tribe, a nation that God could use as his stepping stone after the people of Israel did not fulfill God's providence? There was none. Since the first Israel was unable to fulfill the will of God, Christianity inherited its position. Christianity must accept the mission of the second Israel and fulfill God's will. However, you must know that Christianity has been unable to set the foundation to unite the physical world and the spirit world. Instead, it denied the physical world and tried to find the one nation based only on the spirit world. Today's Christians believe that the Lord of the second advent will come from the sky. However, based on such an event, he cannot bring unity within individuals, families, tribes, people in the world. We must know with certainty that the place where the coming Lord can fulfill his purpose is not the sky. It is this earth, this physical world. To do so, Jesus, as the man who has achieved the ideal of integrity, the man whose mind and body are united completely, must find a woman of integrity and form a family with her. Only when this occurs can the united nation and world come to be. How can this be brought about? Among today's Christians, is there anyone who is prepared to become the bride of the Lord and form a family with him? Christians do not know about this. They don't even know where and how he will come. The Lord of the second advent does not come on a cloud in the sky. The Lord comes to restore the family of oneness, of which God desires. It will take more than one family to restore that family. There needs to be a tribe that can live for the sake of the family. There needs to be a people that can live for the sake of the tribe, a nation that can live for the sake of the people. Present-day Christianity needs to understand clearly that without going through this pattern in one nation, the nation that inherits the mission of the third Israel cannot be restored. Christian doctrine is the teaching of service and sacrifice. Let's take a moment now to think about the way in which a person can enjoy eternal life. If we as individuals wish to be respected in this world, we cannot simply praise ourselves. To earn respect, we need to sacrifice. If, for instance, you have 10 friends and you have served those 10 friends for a long time, you'll become the central figure among them. Not only that, their relatives and friends will want to unite with you. In contrast, let's say that there's a person who tells his 10 friends, you need to live for my sake. Live for my sake. Those friends will break away from that person. In short, that person will be left alone, and in the end, will have no place to go. You need to realize that this is the point that distinguishes between good and evil society. Let's consider a nation's patriot. When you think about the United States, you surely respect people like President Lincoln, President Kennedy. Why do you respect them? You respect these two presidents because they gave their lives for the United States. Among the presidents of the United States, there were those who died miserable deaths for the nation. The more they sacrificed themselves, the more they are revered as patriots, and the higher is their position as presidents. The more a person sacrifices out of love for the nation, even at the risk of his or her life, the more that person is revered. those who suffered miserably through their sacrifice are considered even greater. Even though they are miserable at the time, their misery is only for a moment. As history goes on, that person's impact in the world broadens its scope. Just checking the time, sorry. Okay. This holds true in the death of Jesus. If you are asked for whom Jesus sacrificed himself, the answer is for the sake of humankind and for the nation. In the position of having loved humanity more than anyone else, of having loved God more than anyone else, and of having loved even his enemies, he died miserably after praying for them to be blessed. At the time, Jesus died without a name, for he was accused of being a traitor to his people. No one could have known that he would give rise to today's worldwide realm of Christian culture. At this point, we can propose one principle. It is that those who sacrifice themselves for the greater purpose, for the greater good of the whole, cannot fail. We know that they cannot fail. Such people are historical saints. In this regard, if there is a God and he has a strategy for fighting the world of evil, you can discover his strategy at this point. The nature of evil is to follow the complete opposite of God's strategy, sacrifices others for its own sake. If it does this on the individual level, then other individuals will oppose it. And when it does this on the level of the family or the nation, it inevitably leads to a dictatorship that is denounced by history. You need to understand that the strategy of evil is to promote oneself by sacrificing others, whereas the strategy of good is to sacrifice oneself to save others. So I can't see the top of the screen. That is why the people who asserted goodness in the course of history were not welcomed in their time and were sacrificed. Yet nonetheless, the names of those who sacrificed themselves out of their love for their nation and the world came to be known long after their time. Cannot deny that this is the truth. This is why the doctrine of Christianity is a teaching of service and sacrifice. If a Christian denomination exists only for its own sake, it would come to ruin. However, if there were a denomination whose entire purpose was to save the United States, one that stepped forward to sacrifice itself to achieve this, heaven would cooperate with it. Having saved the United States, Christianity would thereby become a movement for the United States to sacrifice itself to save the world. This would be the Christianity that could be considered suitable to guide the world. The reason God blessed the United States. If we ask whether God loves the United States or the world, we would say that God loves the world more than the United States. Because of it, God has placed the United States at the forefront to have it pay the price, to sacrifice to save the world. American citizens, do you think the United States has an ideological tradition? You cannot find it among today's youth. As you know, the Puritans were among those who pioneered the United States. They were a group who came to the New World, the land of America, leaving behind the nation because it limited their freedom to practice their faith and to serve God as they desired. At the time, a small number of pilgrims risked their lives and held on to God as they struggled to survive in the new land with native inhabitants. I'm aware that their beliefs were based on their reverence for God, and they overcame many difficulties while holding on to Him, which became the founding principle of the United States. I also know that this is the reason they built their homes only after building a church and a school. Because they stood in such a position, God pulled them out of an environment which they were oppressed and protected them in this land. He thus made this nation a global power in a period of less than 200 years. Why did God do all this and give you such blessings? Do you think that God blessed you so that only the people who live in the United States can live in comfort? Instead, you have to take the point of view that God blessed you to make this land the representative nation for saving the world. However, do you American people have a truth that calls them to join forces and save the world? No, they don't. In contrast, the communist world, the enemy of the United States, has an ideology that can conquer the world, and it is displaying its confidence that it can swallow up the United States without a problem. American people need to remember that reducing support for Asia and other parts of the world is not the will of God. I believe that President Kennedy was the president who first began this trend. United States Nations Secretary General at the time, Mr. Hammarskjöld, in this matter of speculation, it is a matter of speculation as to why they both met such tragic ends. I had a meeting with former President Eisenhower in 1965. I pointed out to him, you may think that you did well to call a truce in Korea, in the Korean War. However, it was actually a historical error. I also said to him, do you trust communists? Communists are a group of people whose words and actions differ. Their actions and words are different. You need to know this. Now, 20 years after the ceasefire agreement, we can see with our eyes that how North Korea has done everything in its power to militarize. Can you deny this fact? September 21, the meeting scheduled between Mao Zedong and President Nixon. Mao Zedong has nothing to lose. He can attack or do whatever he wants to President Nixon. The American people need to be aware of this fact. Communists may announce with regard to the United States, we are very close, and suddenly to an about face. There's a dictatorial system. It can go forward and retreat on command at any moment. The American people, on the other hand, cannot do that. Let's say the United States made an agreement and all its people had gone forward. If then they were told to retreat, do you think that everyone in American people would retreat? You ought to know that at least half would break off. I am now thinking about what would become of the United States if such a thing were to happen. From the viewpoint of providence, I believe that God will protect the United States until its 40th president, and or for 200 years of its. I think I have to stop here. Just a few more bits of this speech you'll have to go through yourself, but it just reflects, the nature of Father's urgent message to America, that America has to really fulfill its role in the world, live for the sake of the world, not put itself first and isolate itself. Anyway, thank you very much for your kind attention. I'll end here. Thank you. Reverend John, you still awake? John, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it's a lot in that speech. And yeah, thanks for sharing. I think maybe we can. I do have another praise song to share. I think we can listen to that, and people can reflect. So I'll just share that. Okay. So please enjoy.
우주를 넘어 들리는 소리가 넘을 수가 없네. 그 사랑을 나도 느꼈기에 부모님을 영원히 기억하리.
차렷 경례.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Stone, for sharing about those three speeches and then highlighting the one. It's very, a lot of effort our true parents gave to really save America. Thank you for sharing that. And I know it's very tiring for many people with the Friday Hundok and right after the Chong Sin Won Vigil Prayer. So it is time for us to conclude. So I'll just bring up the our 7-minute prayer to pray together. So just bring that in. So let's pray together. Jew, Jew. Thank you, Reverend Stone, for sharing, and I hope everyone has a great day and see you all again tomorrow. Thank you. Okay.